Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the morning session. We've just ticked over 9:30, and I can see that we have 72 participants. So it's a good number for our discussion this morning. We're going to do things slightly differently this morning. I've been on a number of very good presentations over the last 24 hours as part of the conference. One of the things I quite enjoy when attending these conferences, as well as the various professionals up on the stage, I get most of my knowledge standing around during the lunch break while we're having a coffee and having very open discussions with the varying individuals that are attending these conferences. And I think while a virtual conference is better than no conference at all, I do indeed miss that free-flowing, freestyling discussion that quite often takes place during the breakouts of these conferences. And so what we'd like to do today is to try to replicate that a bit. Our theme is obviously urban regeneration and linking that in with technology. It's not about us presenting. We will run through the rationale of urban regeneration and why we think it is a good focus point for the future of technology, or at least the place that we can put the technology into. But today is very much about an open discussion. So while we will take 5 minutes at the start, I've invited along today various professionals to engage in the discussion. And so it's very much going to be a Q&A session. If you are attending the video conference, and we can see all of your names, don't be surprised if we throw you a question, or indeed, if you want to ask questions, it's not just about asking ourselves the questions, but any of the other speakers that may have raised something. I mean, at this point, I'd like to introduce one of the participants who we are looking forward to hearing from in the next half an hour. And that's John Morgan. John is from the architectural firm Leonard Design. Leonard has urban regeneration projects across the globe. And they are one of the most forward-thinking architectural firms that we are certainly working with. And so, John, if you are there, would you just like to introduce yourself? Oh, John?
Hi, thanks. I think you muted me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, John, hi. Just 2 minutes of yourself. We'll get into the presentation, but I think we just want to set the scene about the discussion we're having this morning. And I think, you know, we are real bricks and mortar people here at Kintyre, so are you. I can see from the list of participants, there's a few techies on the call as well. But from your perspective, you know, give the guys an idea of the sort of things you're working on, and then we'll jump into the topic itself.
Hiya, great. So yeah, my name's John Morgan. I'm Leonard Design Architects. We have offices in Berlin, in London, in Sydney, and in Kuala Lumpur. And we work on large regeneration projects with companies and funds like Kintyre across the world. And it's been very interesting for us, this huge move of technology coming into the projects. And that's both in kind of upfront planning of the project and trying to resolve issues in the design stage before projects go onto site. Then actually on site, making the build and the delivery of projects far more efficient and the use of technology, through then to facilities management and products that go into the building using systems like the Gleeds frame system in terms of embedding information into those design drawings and those being used in the future by facilities management team, but also then ongoing efficiency in the building and a care for the building as well. So we see this as a huge change and a move, and as you know, as the world delivers projects now, technology is definitely having a massive impact on the way we're running our business and delivering schemes.
Yeah, thanks, John. We'll come back to you with a few questions. I just want to, for 2 minutes, set the scene why we're talking about urban regeneration, and then link it to the technology aspect, which is what we're all wanting to hear. Ultimately, and putting COVID aside, because COVID is a momentary event, we all hope so, at least anyway. The medium to long-term trend is urbanisation, and ultimately, I've got a very wordy slide up on at the moment, and please, everyone, don't take the effort to read it. It is available, and it will be available after this presentation. But the main point is that there are 2.5 billion people, that will migrate from regional to urban areas in the next 20 to 30 years. 2.5 billion people. Now, they will need somewhere to house themselves. That will cause a need for services. When they're moving to these urban centres, there is simply not the land to do greenfield development. So we are going to find a housing, a service, and an entertainment solution for 2.5 billion people in the population. We're going to need to be focusing on how do we regenerate existing brownfield sites, combining the new and the old. And this is going to need, as we work through these challenges, an increasing embedding of technology, because this isn't just building a brand new residential complex on the side of town on a greenfield site. These are very complex projects. We'll touch on the complexities in a minute, but ultimately urban property is going to be one of the biggest growth areas in the property sector based on the data. So those of you out there that are looking for a focus and saying, right, okay, where you think the future is going, the future is urban, whether or not that's an urban office project or a real mixed use, it is absolutely urban. There's no getting away from it. What do we mean by urban regeneration projects? So quite simply, with all of the people moving into the cities, we're going to need to come up with refurbishment, restructuring programs that blends the use of living, of working, of services and entertainment. What we've got up on screen now is an actual live example. This is a project that my company is working on. And as you can see, this is a Berlin-based project. It's combining residential, retail, entertainment, leisure, free areas, services, hotel. This is the future. However, if you understand what's going on this type of project, it's quite easy to understand that this is very complex. The construction is complex. Quite often you're blending the old with the new. The interfaces of uses is complex. We're talking about systems, heating, cooling, when you have multi-use sites like this. And then you have the users themselves. Many different types of people will be wanting to participate in these urban spaces. So if we look at the future and if we look at the challenges, it's clear to us that the volume of urban generation projects is unstoppable. The complexity will get more and more, and therefore we want to understand it. And today we want to talk about, what are the current trends that's helping us deliver these projects, and what will be the things that we need to focus on. As I mentioned at the start, we don't have all the answers, and today is about getting all of you individuals that have joined the call. I'm happy to see we're now at over 100 participants, so we better get to the conversation part in a minute. But ultimately, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Khaled now, who's going to touch on the technology side of what we're seeing at the moment with urban regeneration. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to open up and make this a discussion-based Q&A session for the last 10, 15 minutes. So, Khaled, over to you.
Thanks. Mixed-use redevelopments are complex in planning and realization, of course, and a balancing act also between creating sustainable community and an investment product. The complexity is especially evident if you look at the interface, the crossover of the interface between the numerous stakeholders in the construction, real estate management and user management, which you have in smaller projects as well, but it's much more amplified if you look at urban regeneration projects. So there exists a variety of solutions that have been developed by PropTechs and contexts that can assist in managing this complexity. At this conference, for example, we have the portfolio and asset management, market analytics, platform relax data, we have the digital construction cost management by Alasco, or smart building, use automation by PineStack, just to name a few. However, even though these tech solutions are extremely useful and as a standalone, they usually only assist in managing facets of this urban regeneration project complexity. And you could also argue that even with an ever larger number of solutions that you employ in your company, the complexity for the end user may even be increased as well. So how to make tech enable urban regeneration? So there are 3 points that we follow. The first one is to identify those solutions that truly add value, and preferably those to whom you as a client can also add value in their development, for example. The second one is to bundle solutions along your value chain, also together with the legacy systems. And the third one is to set up an IT environment based on an API-first system architecture.
So for those on the call this morning, and myself being one of them, I'm a simple bricks and mortars guy. Yeah, you're the tech guru. That's why you're here. What do you mean by an API first system? Because there are techies on this call, I can see them, but there are also investors and bricks and mortars guys that won't understand that. Just explain that a bit.
Well, simply you start with mapping out your value chain and then identify where along this value chain there are innovative tech solutions in the market, and which either increase the benefit and or reduce the cost, simple cost-benefit analysis. And you also look at to minimize the overlaps, that you have the necessary overlaps, but not too many between those solutions. And of course, a no-brainer to have end users test the solution, give feedback. You need the acceptance and buy-in as well. And the next step is then to review the interoperability with legacy solutions as well as with new tech solutions. And for example, can you have single sign-on for several solutions, kind of these issues. And finally, to have an IT environment set up in which the solutions can talk with each other via API interfaces.
Yeah. So I mean, we're talking about urban regeneration, but urban regeneration is really a proxy for property. Let's be clear. Yeah. But the reason that we're going to debate urban regeneration this morning is that it's probably the most complex of the property subsectors, given the multifaceted, multi-use of these sites. And so if we can find the technology solutions and get them to work in urban regeneration projects, then they will work on any form of real estate. And we think focusing on urban regeneration, as I said at the start, given the volume of these projects that are coming on board, but and those of you that joined early would have heard the lovely rock and roll music, but I was trying to set the scene that urban regeneration is really the rock star of the real estate industry at the moment. PropTech is also seen as one of these things that needs to be embedded. And one of the common links that we're seeing is the use and the future use and adoption of the technology by millennials and others. So we do think that having a conversation now about what things we can use within urban regeneration can also be applied to any other form of property. At this stage, I think we've set the scene. And as I mentioned, this is meant to be the equivalent of standing outside at the coffee stall now for the next 15 minutes with the various people on the call. We have joining us as a special guest, in addition to John Morgan, we have Felix Bant from Gleeds. Gleeds is a global project manager. They have a history dating back more than 100 years. The Gleeds company in Germany are working on a number of rather substantial urban regeneration projects. And Felix, as their managing director, I think is well placed to give his view. Before Felix gives his view, we debate PropTech quite often, Felix and I, because he's very much a bricks and mortar guy like myself. So you know, we're not necessarily all here to say PropTech is great or PropTech is going to solve the world. I'm hoping that Felix can give his views on where he sees, as a guy that is dealing with urban regeneration and construction every day, what his view is on the PropTech sector being embedded in the project that he is working on. So Felix, I hope that hasn't thrown the ball too far into your court, but you know, I'd like to hear from you at this stage about what things you guys are doing in terms of embedding technology, particularly in an urban context.
I don't know if it's John Morgan here. I don't know if Felix can actually get on to be able to speak. He just sent me a message to let me know, Adam.
Okay, well, we're going to miss out on a very big chunk of Felix's comments. John, we've introduced you earlier as well. I mean, the benefit that you are seeing is that Leonard Design is working on urban projects from an international context. Is there anything that's happening globally in your projects that you see as early adoption that you can share with the audience of the call today to give them an idea of what they should be looking for within a European context? Or do you think Europe is leading the charge? Yeah. What's your view?
Yeah, definitely. So I think Europe is definitely leading the charge. I think, you know, when we look at the transition we've gone through already from, you know, working in 2-dimensional CAD to teams working 3-dimensional Revit, through consultants sharing those 3-dimensional models as well, and now, you know, in projects embedding data into the products that are being drawn in those drawings as well. The amount of information that is now being produced is far more technically complex and advanced, and therefore I think beneficial to real estate developers as well. We definitely see the kind of Europe leading that market currently, and that is, you know, for us, you know, right through to, you know, we're working with technology companies now looking at you know, additional technology support, dementia care, and different, you know, and office projects as well. Often the complexity, and you picked on it in your project, the project in MZ, when you have retail and cinema and hotel and medical and residential, I think that's where, you know, the complexity comes in, or the rock and roll, as you would call it, you know, where you may have different demands from different end users of the technology, and getting that to integrate at the end, I think is our next big challenge.
Yeah, and I think, we had the benefit of seeing the participants on this video conference this morning, and we have a very large audience, it seems, from the tech side of the equation, and I guess they're probably wanting to understand, you know, where they can solve solutions, where they can develop solutions, and therefore grow their businesses. Where is the biggest gap in urban regeneration or property generally that you see that, you know, if you've got a budding startup PropTech entrepreneur listening, and there is quite a few I can see, what would you ask them to focus on? What are the solutions that you are looking for them to solve?
Well, I think, you know, on behalf of clients and funds we work for, there are 2 big areas that I think tech can help. You know, one is in terms of, is there tech that can reduce risk? One of the big things for a fund is if you invest in real estate that's being built, there's a huge risk element to that investment. Can technology help reduce that risk? Because that will be incredibly desirable for the funds. And secondly, it's efficiency in the build. Can we use technology to make the builds more efficient so it is quicker, and therefore as a developer they can get their returns more quickly because the project is built in shorter time periods? For me, I think that's where the biggest opportunity is to seduce investors to adopt technology, because actually as an industry, we've kind of done things the same way for many, many years. And I think we need to be kind of dragged by technology to look at things differently, which is what's happening. But to seduce those investors to change the way they've done it for many years, we need to be able to show this real benefit to them. I think that is through reduction in risk and a reduction in program are two great targets for new startup PropTechs.
Excellent, thanks, John. Felix, if you're listening, we believe we can soon throw to you. But before we do, I just wanted to re-emphasize that this morning is meant to be effectively a quasi coffee breakout session at a conference. So we are looking forward to any questions that the various participants on this call would like. So please feel free to either raise your hand or put questions through the function of the online system. So Felix, we can now throw to you, very much construction and project focused. And so we're very keen to understand from yourself where you could provide some guidance or feedback to those listening around your experience and where you believe things need to go in the future. Yeah, over to you, Felix.
No, I think
no, not over to you, Felix. Okay, no problem.
Right.
One of the areas that I wanted to just emphasise this morning, and I thought it may have been raised by participants on the call already, because I can see three of them, and I won't embarrass them and ask them to put their hand up. But I know that three participants on this call this morning are working on similar solutions to this, but because of the complexity of urban regeneration, and if you have a look at the slide we've got on screen, there are so many different user experiences going on within one scheme. Where we see the biggest growth area, the biggest problem or the solution that we want solving with is not so much the construction tech, because I think within construction technology, there are good software tools being used that allow us to cost our phases, our construction and things like that. You know, they could be applied to urban regeneration. There's more in an urban context, the management tools and the user interfaces. And people talk PropTech, yeah? We don't need to just think of it as property technology. We can think of it as community technology, meaning that we are looking within our urban schemes about the management of our schemes after construction. And therefore, you need to look at it as a community. So there are a lot of things going on in an urban context where we think the bringing together of a centralized app, yeah, that allows the residents, the shoppers, all of those people participating in an urban precinct, yeah, in a one-stop shop to access everything they need, and then also interfacing and having the Schnittstelle with the other management tools is a real problem that needs a solution. Yeah. So if we're looking at community-based PropTech or community tech, yeah, have a look at urban, yeah, but it's not just about social networks. It needs to be so more complex than that. Yeah. We need the systems to talk to each other. We need the management tools from the various asset managers to be talking directly with the tenants. We need that to link into the retail. As yet, we have not yet found, yeah, we have not yet found a solution that we can apply to our urban regeneration project. And given the comments that we made at the start, and there will be millions of square meters of these projects built, urban precincts, in the next 5 to 10 years. This is an area that I think needs a lot more focus. At this stage, I see we have got the questions now starting to come through. Khaled, do you want to pick this one up?
Yep. Question from Daniel from Relax Data. We provide data in order to determine the potential value and rent for existing assets. In terms of the words from John, our data could support reducing the risk in urban regeneration of an urban regeneration project. How do you think market data and comparables benchmarks could be applied for your projects, and where do you see differences to, e.g., transactions of existing assets?
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. And I think this is one of these data points questions which you're 100% right. And I put this within the construction tech bundle. meaning that when we are building these products, they are becoming, and when I call it a product, an urban precinct, they are incredibly expensive on a per square meter basis because there are so many unknowns and they are very complicated. Yeah, it's on a per square meter basis, it's significantly more expensive to develop an urban precinct than it is a standalone office tower on a greenfield site. Therefore, the importance of understanding as much of the data points as possible, and clearly rent is one of them. We have a number of systems that feed into our underwriting, and actually, Daniel, it's no surprise to you that relapse data is one of those. And I think big data is going to allow more of these projects to be successful, yeah, because gone are the days where the old school developers just buy a site and start developing, and it's a gut feeling, a Bauchgefühl, yeah. The sites have become too expensive, and the buffer and the puffer has just evaporated. So to undertake urban regeneration and property developments more generally, yeah, investment professionals, developers cannot just rely on their gut feeling anymore. Big data is essential. Yeah, the successful developers that want to make a profit, yeah, are all already using big data, yeah, whether or not it's Relax or other data platforms to gain that insight. We see that as a pivotal point, and of course, rental information is a huge part of that. We've got 3 minutes left this morning. I think we've covered some good ground. I think from some closing remarks in that urban regeneration is complex, but urban regeneration is clearly the future. The demographic trend is moving to urbanisation. The social trend amongst the millennials and the generations that follow, the work-life-play balance, is also moving to urban. I feel that there are a lot of focus on construction tech on specific sectors. If I can encourage the investors out there on this call, yeah, I'd ask you to continue to invest in urban regeneration, because I think it's the key. But more importantly for this morning, the techies out there that are on this presentation, and I'm pleased to see that 4 more have joined in the last 5 minutes. The point to take away from today is that, you know, Kintyre and the other urban regeneration specialists that are out there, we don't have the answers at the moment. We just know the volume of urban regeneration projects coming. We want to work with you guys to help us make these projects more efficient and more profitable. Please turn your attention to the multifaceted requirements of urban regeneration, because if you can provide the solutions, if you can apply technology to multi-use buildings, then you can roll out your PropTech to the other sectors of real estate very easily, what I call the plain vanilla office building residential. So if anybody wants to pick up where the pinch points are for us, feel free to contact us here at Kintyre anytime. But please think about the future of urban. Think about bringing in all of the various stakeholders into these solutions. And as I said, the future is urban. Urban regeneration is the rock star of real estate, we believe. And we look forward to the conversation with many of you in the future about how PropTech can support the continued growth of urban regeneration in the future. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think that is it for the morning. Look forward to speaking with a lot of you during the course of the next 12 hours during the Real PropTech conference. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day.